Hey guys, Lancer here. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks again for joining me while we look into some more reserveless cards and the idea behind Mystical Archive, especially the Japanese edition. Now, the way that Wizards of the Coast is going to do this is every single pack is going to have a Mystical Archive card, if I remember correctly, which means that the Japanese booster packs will each have a Mystical Archive card. But I've noticed that the cost for these cards is currently quite high, and the Japanese alternative of going to be one of the more prized, especially for certain ones of these, just because the artwork is good and compared to the original artwork stands out to be quite different. But are they collector items? I guess the more important thing is, would you buy these boxes over putting more money into reserveless cards or just holding out against Strixhaven's release in the first place, as a lot of these cards have some issues, especially since the artwork has been copied, there's been misspellings or mistaken words or mistaken titles, because it looks like there was some it it looks like there's been some issues with Wizards of the Coast trying to get this IP. I think there's some Harry Potter ideas that they had, but the names had to be changed. There was obviously some speed ups to when these products were going to be released, because I think that most companies are now trying to grab as much of the government money that's been put out there. So what I want to do is I want to have a quick look at all of the mystical archives and find out, especially the Japanese alternative arts, and just see if there's going to be some value behind these cards and what the user base, at least from my channel, if you guys are going to be buying any of these straight out, or you're going to just continue with reserveless cards, or you're just going to wait for all of this to blow over. So let's start looking into it. So I think I covered a bit when they first got released, but now they're all out. So Putrefy, Lightning Helix, Growth Spiral. I will admit a lot of these do look good. The foils for these will be expensive. There's no doubt about that. Even if there's one in each pack, they will be hard to get in the foil versions. There will be quite a few chase cards in the Mystical Archives. There's some good stuff in here. There's going to be a lot of printing of them, and depending on the supply, things are going to either go well for people that want to collect these, which is the people that get it early and then stock up on them, or later on when people want to buy these and the prices for these either come down because of the amount of boxes that are being opened to get these key chase cards. So we can see that they're all out of stock, but obviously I expected this to happen. If you have an abundant growth for $3.99 near mint out of stock, but then the foil one is $19.99, that is, what is that, six times? Six four is 24. Probably, yeah, six to five times the price for the foil. You can pretty much see that for all of them. Now, I it's hard to tell if these prices are going to stick because it depends on how many boxes are released. Depends on how Wizards of the Coast does this. Time Spiral itself has been very, very decent if you bought the boxes for the pre-order price because they've obviously gone up because no one realized how limited the supply was going to be. And I think this is going to be a common thing. The supplies for a lot of these products just doesn't seem to be there for the demand. The demand is outpacing the supplies. Now, whether or not that's because everyone's got the investor or arbitrage mindset where they pretty much realize that they can buy this product out. Everyone joins in on buying this product out, which causes prices to go up. Because Wizards of the Coast is looking at there and going, guys, every time we put out a box, it sells out. So why wouldn't we just sell all of these at a higher price because people are willing to buy them and then resell them for a higher price? We don't take on any risk. So the art looks good. Would you be better off buying singles? Would you be better holding out and just buying reserveless cards? I think one of the most important things to remember is a lot of people's views on reserveless cards have changed over the last couple of months. They're starting to realize that reserveless cards are a good investment. They're not going to go down. And even if they move down, they're not going to drop to where they were before. I brought this back up again because this is the date, pretty much when I started doing my review, it really messed me up for how consistent these values were. I lost complete track of where I was when I was doing my reserve list reviews because this happened while I was trying to do them. It's gone up by almost double the price in just a couple of days. In a couple of days, it's gone up double price. Someone or a bunch of people brought out everything for the revised edition, and that applies to unlimited now, and that applies to alpha and beta as well. They're all moving up like crazy, and to avoid paying taxes, a lot of the people are probably not even putting them out on eBay or TCG. They're probably just changing hands locally, or people just go for a bit of a drive and then decide to just change it with cash because otherwise you're gonna have to pay a ton more tax on these kinds of things, especially for me living in Australia. If you buy anything over a certain price, then you pay a lot of tax for these when they get imported in. Not worth it in the end. Like, oh, okay, it is now because the price went up by almost double, but it wouldn't have been worth it if it just went up by like 10%. One of the most important things to remember is even when all of these prices are moving, and we're seeing a decent amount of volatility here, like it's flatlined over here, and now you're seeing a decent amount of volatility when it's hit this top end point. So 8,652 for a revised edition set in 2021 03, so March 23. Now it is 8,376. So, drop by around about $400, but that's nothing. Nothing at all. I will admit that the declining cards are starting to now move down a bit further, but from my side, I feel like these prices for the revised edition or the reserve list cards are at least going to stay consistent as long as people don't have anywhere else to truly move their money into beyond just arbitrage or buying out collections or buying out the new stuff to sell for a higher price. Now, will that change with the mystical archives, which are now coming back again? Gives a reason for people to start buying booster boxes, sell these singles for a much higher price, and either that or keep them. Like, the funny thing is, if I play against someone that's got these cards, I'm going to be pretty confused about what they're putting on the table. It's not that easy to. I mean, you're not going to be first able to read what the cards say unless you speak Japanese. And more importantly, the artwork is completely different to what you've ever seen before, so you're not going to know what they do until someone reads it out to you. Like, oh, I just duressed you. It's like, okay, okay, thanks. Um, and some of these are old cards as well, like Eliminate, Ephemerate. I don't even know what some of these do. Gift of Estates. That's not a bad one. That's pretty cool. $7, $8 for that. Faithless Looting. $6. Crazy. The art is once again, like, I guess it depends on taste. From my side, it looks a bit too different. But then again, the value comes from collectors that are willing to pay for these prices. And if the collectors are willing to move out of a high end reserve list card into Mystical Archive, would that be crazy? That'd be too much for them. Will they have enough money to just buy them both out? It really does depend on what everyone wants to do, and a lot of the market seems to be in group mentality. So you guys can let me know down below if you think that just because Mystical Archive is coming back, there's going to be two different alternative arts, not including the foils, the expanded art. There is going to be so much value that's going to be, well, sorry, there's going to be so many alternatives that are going to come out, which means people aren't going to truly know what's valuable until everything settles down. But what would you be doing? Would you be buying these boxes to sit on? Continue with reserve list? Continue with just alternative arts? Buying singles? You know, it's going to be very, very hard to tell. Another thing I wanted to point out was I wanted to go through the commanders that now that all of them have been released. So we got MTG Goldfish with the release for the latest one, Witherbloom. I think it's an okay or interesting deck. It's quite unique for what it is. That's quite a bit of value in it, $124. Where is most of that value coming from? I think it's coming from the artifacts. So you got Almert's Archive, you got Well of Dreams, Wence's Journal. Between those two, that's like $30 right there. So then you got a bit of value in a couple of the creatures. Not 100% sure where it got its $124 from, but I think it must be from like just $2, $3 plus. You got Commander for Silver Quill, value of $144. Most of it seems to be coming from. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent may create a treasure token. For each opponent who does, you create. That's a very, very, very good card. It's politics, Deathbringer. Oh, here he is. Okay, so you got Deathbringer Liege. So that's $12.81. Pretty good card for this deck. Once again, it looks like a lot of these cards are just above the $2 area. And that's where the value comes from. $144 for Silver Queen. $98, that's a bit of a drop. So you got 124, 144, 98, and 75. And Lawhold Legacies is 131. Okay, so blue red, pretty weak. Blue green, pretty weak. For pricing, Lawhold, pretty decent. Silver Quill, great. And Witherbloom, pretty decent. So depending on what you think is valuable in on your side, I would probably say buy the singles from the red blue and the green blue and go pretty much for it for the other commander decks. It depends on if you want to get them either, because for me, I would look at this and go, some of these singles are pretty good, but I don't know what the supply is going to be. And this is what Wizards of the Coast has been doing recently, is they don't provide the supply until the end, and then people had to figure out, oh my god, that was a supply shortage. Or someone like Rudy comes out and says, guys, there was only like 10,000 pallets. And he gets that information, so he knows what to invest in. So that's actually really, really worrying in some ways that you can predict that Wizards of the Coast is either creating artificial demand issues, so that supply issues, so that the demand goes up, and then they might just put that into our minds, so that it's just something you always expect. So we'll have to see how it goes. I do like these commanders, at least some of these cards, but it's going to be a bit tricky in the future. And with all of these new products coming, is it once again going to push people to reserve list cards, or is it going to start moving money around for the archives? Yeah, we'll have to see. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know which one you would go and put money into in the future. Time Spiral was actually a good bet, weirdly enough, for making some money. But then again, it depends on what you're going to use the cards for. So thanks for watching and have a good one. Hey, guys.